Hi, Mike Coey here, and joining me right now for this segment of What Matters This Week is the CEO of the YMCA, the Greater Burlington YMCA. Got to get the name of the organization right. Kyle Dodson. So Kyle, first of all, thank you for coming on here. All of you with the Y have some very exciting things going on right now that are going to be very important for your future, and we'll get to that very, very shortly. But I think you wanted to start off by letting people know why the Y matters, not just this week, but every week.
That's right. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. The first thing that I'd like to point out is right here on the tail end of summer, we just began fall. I'd like to talk about our swimming programs. I think that's one of our most vital pieces of programming. We all know, unfortunately, some of the tragedies we've experienced locally, and we think that one of the contributing factors is often whether or not young people have access to high-quality water instruction and safety. And we're one of the primary providers of that. We've really upped our efforts recently in connecting with the Burlington Police and Fire and Parks and Rec. And so I think it's really important to know that we're in that business, and we think it's really vital to the community. That's one piece. We have our summer camps and school-age programs. So we do a lot providing kids enriching opportunities in the summer in terms of their summer, activities, I guess it would be. So there's that. There's just a sense of belonging. One of the things is we think at the Y, we're one of the primary places where people can come and see people across all of our differences. You walk in the Y, religion, politics, what side of the street you live on, what side of the tracks you live on, none of those things matter. You're just there to take care of yourself and deal with your wellness. So we think it matters for that reason.
Exactly. Everybody's the same, and it's a wonderful sense of belonging and spirit of fellowship that everyone can have with one another within the Y's doors.
That's correct.
Got it. I'd like to go back, if I could, Kyle, for a moment to the first piece that you brought up, that being, of course, the importance of swim lessons. And as I believe I may have heard you describe it in the recent past, the idea of swimming is the importance of swimming, rather, as a life skill. And I think you mentioned that there have been several incidents in which this has kind of come more to the forefront of people's minds than it might usually. But if I remember right, I believe Christian Kibabu and his drowning off of Oakledge Beach. So how perhaps has his drowning and perhaps some of the other incidents you referred to affected what all of you do?
Yeah, I think you said, Mike, it's just a heightened awareness, right? So people know that, but when something tragic like this happens, that we don't know enough of the particulars to say what all might have gone into perhaps helping to prevent that, but there's been a really increased effort around signage. People, I think the city and those responsible for that have done that. And then this issue of water safety, just an awareness of what happens to the body in the water, what you need to have in terms of proficiency. The particular object that they were swimming out to at Oakledge, it's a pretty good hike, right? So you could have the experience of jumping in a pool, splashing, having fun, and being able to get back to the side of the pool, which is 10 to 15 feet away at any given time. I think that's about a quarter mile. It's a good hike. Maybe a tenth. It's a good, you're swimming to get there. And so just an awareness of what it takes to swim that distance, how you need to relax the body, the different strokes you can use. You can stop and relax and do a float and treading water. That sort of thing we think can go a long way into helping. Right? You can't prevent everything, but we think there's a lot we can go. And it's the kind of thing, we have enough water accessible, pools and lake, that this shouldn't be a high-cost issue. If we all collaborate, we should be able to do this in a way that's feasible.
And one thing that I know all of you think is very important to create a sense of community would be to allow for a lot of people to have access to something else that is very, I hate to say, sorely needed, that folks might not really have access to in a lot of instances, that being childcare. So I think it might be important to touch on how all of you help allow for more childcare accessibility in the community. And the Y is an option a lot of people might not think of.
Well, thanks for asking, Mike. And if you follow what's happening in the press and the news here in Vermont, you know that this is a pressing concern in Vermont, how to provide high-quality, accessible opportunities for age 0 to 5 for families and their children. And the Y is one of the largest players in that field. We do offer the highest quality NACE accredited childcare, and we work with multiple partners, many of our fellow providers of childcare, organizations like the Permanent Fund, to be involved in advocacy around these issues. And the most, or a very important part, is at the Y, we have an economic model that has us work to develop the revenue so that we can go out and say to families, if you don't have the wherewithal to pay these incredibly high prices, we're in a position to subsidize and provide scholarship for you so you can have access. We are one of the largest players in infant toddler, right? So from 0 to 2. It's a business that's very difficult for many people to be in because the staffing alone makes it so that you really can't charge the user, the consumer, what it costs you to provide it, because that costs $450 a week is often out of the reach of middle-class families, families with reasonable resources. So we, not only are we in that business, this new building that we're building is going to have 50 new slots of infant and toddler, and that'll be one of the larger bringing on to line of infant toddler seats that's happened in our community in a while, I believe.
You mentioned that all of you do have to find rather significant revenue sources to allow that to happen. Briefly, what perhaps might some of the more common sources be that all of you might seek to tap into?
Great. Well, one thing is that a lot of people don't realize, as you talk about the things people don't realize about us, Mike, is that we are a 501c3, right, not-for-profit, and what we're unique in that many not-for-profits are heavily dependent, if not exclusively dependent, on philanthropic giving. We are dependent, and we have an annual fund, and the community's been incredibly generous with our capital campaign to help us build this new building. But when we have a building up and running, we have the advantage of multiple revenue sources, chief amongst which is probably the membership opportunity, is that we have members, and those members pay their monthly fee, and that fee helps us to generate the kind of revenue that puts us in a position to do some of the things we do. Like right now, at any given time, there's probably about 20% of our population who are at the Y are receiving financial assistance. That's in the wellness area, swim lessons, childcare, sure, really across the board of our offerings. We're able to offer pretty substantial scholarship opportunity, and that's a combination of our revenue. And once again, that annual giving helps a great deal in those areas.
Fantastic. Kyle, just one more thing coming to my mind that we should probably bring up, and we've alluded to it a couple of times already, but the new facility that you're, of course, in the process of, again, raising money for and getting the construction plans, I believe, underway right now. About when perhaps might people be able to expect it to completely come to life and open up, and how's that going?
Sure, there'll probably be some questions, some increased questions happening right about now, because if you go past 298 College Street, which is the location for people who've been around town for a while, the former Ethan Allen Club, and then it was owned by Champlain College, now our annex, it's coming down. So when you go there, there's fencing around it, there's heavy equipment, and over the next 3 weeks or so, you will see that building being raised. And then we are on schedule for sometime later this fall, late October, hopefully, to begin construction on a new building. So as you say, that's super exciting. It's something that this community has been incredibly supportive of. Many people have given to our capital campaign. Other people, just well-wishers, every time someone sees me, if they know that I work at the Y, they generally express excitement for the project. It will be, it's night and day between this new facility and what our current facility is, and we're really excited to bring that facility to this community.
Lots of people are, Kyle, and before we go, I think it might be worth touching on just for one moment here, if anyone that might be interested in donating to the campaign hasn't already, how can they get a hold of all of you to do it?
Thank you. If you go to our website, the www.gbymca.org, right on there, there'll be lots of links and opportunities to tell you how to get involved in the capital campaign, which we'd love some support. That's still ongoing to get this building up, and our annual fund, which we are, conduct every year. So we appreciate all the support that anyone can give, and right there on the website you can find the way to do it.
Awesome. Kyle, thank you for coming on What Matters this week, and we'll have more of the show for you in just a moment.